Running 100 miles seems impossible, and maybe even kind of crazy. And it is, but we believe in big crazy dreams. That's why we ran 100 miles. It was such a life-changing experience for us, we decided to devote this podcast to preparing and inspiring you to run your first ultra race.
Are you ready to feel the highest highs and the lowest lows? Are you ready to do what you once thought was impossible? Are you ready for your trail to 100? Thank you for joining us here on Trail to 100, the podcast made to help you finish your first 100-mile race. My name is Jacob Bateman, and joined along with me is my beautiful and lovely wife, Melody.
Hey guys, so excited to be back.
And joined along with us, which you will hear in the background, is our son, Travis. Travis,
AKA
say hi.
Travie.
He's looking up at us. He's in his little rocker
You'll hear
right
some little
now.
hiccups and
Some
little coos in the background.
He's cuter than Baby Yoda.
Oh, that's for sure.
Anyways, guys, it's been a while. We are back.
We're back.
Yes.
So welcome to season 5. We have some awesome podcasts lined up for you guys. We've already recorded a good handful of them. We also have some really exciting Trail to 100 news for this year too.
We are excited about the podcast after our 3-month break where we had Travis back in October, and we are getting back at it. So anyways, Here we go.
Today we're going to give a quick life update, talk about our goals, and then we're going to share some tips on how you can get back into running.
Having a kid has definitely thrown a wrench in our normal training plans.
Oh, for sure. Training is a lot more challenging now and also a lot more fun.
Yeah. Yes. Anyways, so to update what happened while we were gone the last 3 months is obviously we had our son, Travis. We've been learning how to be parents.
It's awesome.
Yep. It's been exhausting, but awesome at the same time. And he's just staring up at us right now as we talk.
His favorite thing is to watch people talk. So
Yes.
This is like the best day ever for him.
Yeah. We are literally putting on a show for him right now. I actually ran a race.
Yeah. Tell us about your race.
So I made the mistake of signing up for
It was not a mistake.
a ultra marathon.
Oh, I see where you're going
And
with
one
this.
that was going to push me extremely hard because of tight cutoffs at 6 weeks after our kid was to be born. So I signed up for it before.
I guess we didn't really think that one through.
No.
You know.
Didn't think that one
But
through.
it turned out really well.
So Travis was born during peak training. Peak training was a joke. I was doing really good with my training until Travis was born, though.
Hey, we have gotten really good at functioning on very little sleep.
Yeah.
So that's going to come in handy for our upcoming hundreds.
Yeah. But I ended up getting some training in here and there. Not very consistent, but enough to where I was able to run the Tooele Turkey Trot. It was the Saturday after Thanksgiving. And it was what it was. It was like a backyard ultra format. It was a 4-mile loop that I ran with 1,300 feet of vert in that 4-mile loop.
Also very technical and unexpected weather.
Yep. And you have to run it under an hour. So I went out and did it. And my goal was to make all 10 loops. They cap it at 10 loops. I did not make the 10 loops, but I made 8. And I was very proud of that. And honestly, I wasn't even really disappointed that I didn't make the 10.
Because you gave it all you had. You gave it everything.
Gave it everything. There was a lot of snow on the course. It snowed the day before. And then the sun came up midway through the race. And then it just turned to a lot of mud. And there was still ice. Had a lot of falls in that race. I normally don't fall. Or I gracefully fall, but these were actually real falls where I go flat on my back.
Well, including a hilarious fall that I didn't get to witness, but my dad saw. He didn't realize it was Jacob at the time, but he was telling the story of my dad also did the race. He was waiting for Jacob and cheered him on for the rest of the race. And he said he saw this runner just coming down the road, and he just slipped and landed on his back, and then he didn't move. He just laid there.
Yeah.
And then dad was like, wait a second, is that Jacob?
I was cramping up. I fell down and literally cramps just started taking over my body. So I had to lay for a while before I could get up.
Travis was laughing at that.
Yeah. It was a great race though. Here was like the moment in the race. I'll just take you to that. I was 6 laps in, or I was on my 6th lap, and I really struggled up the climb. And then by the time I made the climb, I was at the 40-minute mark. So I had 2 miles to descend down really technical terrain in the snow. And I had kind of at that moment had accepted I wasn't going to make the cutoff.
Wait, so you had 2 miles and how many minutes to get back?
About 20, a little under 20, a little under
Okay.
20.
Okay.
And I stopped to take a pee, and I just thought, yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to make this one. Probably not. I thought I had drained the tank. So I start, but I didn't want to totally give up. So I start running down, still not really pushing, and as I start running down, I don't know what happened, but something clicked to where I'm like, I came into this race to push myself. This is the moment where I push myself, because normally in an ultra, when I get to that point, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to cruise into the finish. But I'm like, no, we're going to do this one different, and I'm going to see if I can make this cutoff. And so I bounded down that mountain like a jackrabbit. Like literally, I felt like I was just jumping down the mountain.
Jacob is really good at technical downhill.
And just start running, taking it as fast as I can, and kind of feeling some cramping coming on. But so like I'm like balancing between how fast I go, because I notice the faster I go, the more the cramps come on.
So going as fast as you can without bringing the cramps on.
Yeah. So I'm like finding the sweet spot and end up seeing the finish line. And I'm like, got like a minute left, but I'm still a good 100 or so yards away. But I can see the finish line. And so I start really pushing it at this point, and then the cramping starts coming on, and like everyone's like, come on, and cheering me on because they know I'm close to the cutoff. And I end up making it there with about 20 seconds to spare on that one. And I felt really proud of myself in that moment for those 20 minutes, because I had gone deeper inside of me in a different way. Like in 100, it's just about keep moving. But this was like, no, you got to run fast. It was a different kind of push.
A different kind of hard.
Yeah, a different kind of hard. And I felt really proud, and it was a double elimination course. The race director was kind because of the conditions of the course. He said, you can go until you miss the cutoff twice. So I never made the cutoff after that. In the 7th loop, I didn't make it, and didn't make it on the 8th either, because I just fell behind. But I felt like I emptied the tank, because I also felt like I had pushed myself the lap previous to that. But like the 6th lap was where I really had to dig. And
that's kind of where you won your race right there.
Yeah. And so it was really a fun experience. And like I said, I did it because I wanted to get faster.
And you did. Mm-hmm. You definitely got faster.
Yeah. I would not have been able to last 8 laps a year ago. I credit a lot of that to Melody. Has been coaching me through up to that race, and she gave me a lot of great speed work, a lot of good speed work. And it was really fun to implement speed work, because that's something I haven't been doing too much of, because I've been just so focused on the 100-mile.
We've been doing fun workouts. It's been fun making workouts for you.
Yeah. And it was really fun training block when I did it.
I feel like you kind of lost your spirit to run for a little bit. And I mean, part of that is because we had a baby and we weren't sleeping. But I feel like once you started like throwing sprints and speed work into your runs, I feel like your excitement for running came back.
Yeah, it has been a lot more exciting since I've started to work more on speed. Just goes to show that even though you're running 100 miles, you still need to do speed work. And
I think it's really important to sign up. I mean, yes, you did do an ultra, but I just want to throw this out. I think it's important to sign up for shorter, faster races so you can learn to, push yourself in a different way, and so you can build up that speed.
Amen. So it was a fun race. The Tooele Turkey Trot. The Tooele Turkey Trot Till You Drop. That's the official name of the race. Ended up taking fourth, which it was a small race though, like 25 people.
Hey, but
But
that still's pretty dang good.
yeah,
And only 2 people actually ended up getting all
yeah,
10 loops.
yeah.
It was a challenging course.
Friend of the podcast, Josh Bryant. He's been on multiple times. You can go search his name in the search bar
I'll
on Trail
put his
100.
episodes in the show notes.
So he took second overall and he did all 10 loops. So good on him. He's a beast.
He is a beast.
So other than that, it's just been basically learning how to be a father, learning how to do life with a kid. That's been it for me. What about you?
Well, that's basically been it for me too, except I'm a wife, I'm a mom. Yeah, we're just, getting our training in is very different. We're learning how to take shifts. When was the last time we actually got out and did a run together? Oh, we did do a family hike last
week.
weekend. We put baby in a front carrier and we did, it was like a 3-mile hike with about 900 feet of climbing, super icy.
And Travis slept through the whole thing.
He took the best nap of his life.
Yes.
But
the man could not be woken up.
At least we get to spend lots of time together doing the podcast.
Yes. Now, moving forward, Mel, now we have a kid. Like, life's a lot different than last year and the year before that. It's been past couple years, there's been a lot of change.
Oh, yeah.
So let's talk about goals here and what our listeners can expect to be hearing from us this year as what we're looking to improve in our lives and in our running. So Melody, what are your goals for the 2024 season?
I was really hesitant to share my goals this season because I feel like I have shared a lot of goals that I haven't reached yet, or maybe I've changed my mind and maybe I've given up on some goals, maybe I didn't reach some goals. One example is, I said I was going to try to qualify for Boston and I ended up not. And yes, I did get pregnant. That was kind of my excuse. But also, I feel like I kind of gave up on that goal even before I got pregnant. I just, my excuse was I didn't like running on the roads. And, anyways, it's scary. It's vulnerable to share your big goals with the world. Recently, after becoming a mother, I feel like my perspective on the world has completely shifted. And I feel like a lot of my weaknesses recently have become very clear to me. Also, I listened to this David Goggins podcast, and I actually have never listened to David Goggins. And I feel like a lot of you might judge me for saying what I'm about to say, especially with as much as we talk about David Goggins on this podcast, but I haven't listened to him. I actually haven't read any of his books. This is how it worked. So when Jacob read his first book, I was like, oh, I want to read it. And Jacob's like, oh, you wouldn't like it because of the language. And I was like, okay, yeah, you're right. I chose not to read it or listen to it because of the language. So what would happen is Jacob, did you listen to it or did you read it?
Listen to it.
So Jacob would listen to it at work, and then he would come home and I'd say, what did you read? And then he would tell me what he read. And then he'd listen to it at work and come home and I'd say, tell me what you read. And then he would tell me. So I read the book through Jacob because I didn't want the language. And I know he has a clean version now. Anyways.
Clean version's been out a while.
I know. Okay, but I decided to listen to this podcast. It was on the Huberman Lab. This is what happened. Okay, I was cleaning and I wanted to listen to something good, and I actually said a little prayer in my head, and I was like, I maybe this sounds silly to some people, but I say little prayers like this. I'm like, Heavenly Father, please help me to find something really good to listen to, because I'm caught up on all my podcasts, and I'm like, I just really want something good to listen to while I'm cleaning today. And the Huberman Lab popped up in my head. I hadn't listened to that podcast for a while, and I was like, okay. So I typed in Huberman Lab, and I was kind of scrolling, and then I saw David Goggins, and I was just like, you know what? Yes, this is what I want to listen to today. And I was like, I know there's going to be language, but, today I'm okay with that. I want to listen to this podcast anyway. So I'm listening to this podcast. It's like a 2-hour podcast, and I'm just cleaning my house. And there's times where I stop scrubbing and I'm just like sitting there listening to this podcast. And for these 2 hours, I'm just like, it's just like this therapy of listening to David Goggins, and I'm moving and I'm scrubbing and I'm cleaning and I'm like analyzing my life. And I, as dramatic as this sounds, I feel like that podcast changed my life. And all of a sudden I was like, holy cow, I am a pansy loser. And I know that I'm not. I know that I'm not. I feel like David Goggins kind of gets you thinking like that, you know? And I was like, I'm a loser, man. Like, I can do so much better. I can be so much more. And then I had this realization that, like, yeah, I can just do so much more. And I looked back at the last few years and I'm like, man, I could have ran Ute 100 with you. I could have done that. But I was scared. And so I dropped down to a 50, you know, and all these races where I was scared of the big distance, so I dropped down one more. And all these life opportunities and work and things with family, with friends, where I had this opportunity and I was scared and I didn't do it, or I was weak and I didn't have discipline. And I realized over the past few years, like, I feel like I've been giving in to fear a lot. I feel like I've been giving into the natural man a lot. And I also don't want to totally beat myself up and say, oh, I'm just terrible. I don't do anything right. Like, I'm not saying that. I just, like, my weaknesses have just become really clear to me recently. And I just know that I can be so much more. So, anyways, this year I just feel like my mindset is in a place where it hasn't been in a really long time, and I feel really mentally strong, and I'm just really excited to get at it this year. So this is a really long journey to get to what my goals are. So these are my goals. At the end of this year, I want to run the Skyline 55K here in Ogden, Utah. It's, how many feet of climbing is it?
7,000.
About 7,000 feet of climbing. Jacob did it last year. It's a race that I've been looking at for a long time. So that's my A race. I also have a handful of other races that I want to do. My ultimate goal, and you know, I'm already feeling this like hesitancy to bring this up because it's big and it's scary. But my goal is in 2025, I want to run the Scout Mountain 100 and Wasatch 100 in the same year. That's the goal. You know, who knows if I get into Wasatch? If I don't get into Wasatch, I still need to come up with a plan B. But as of right now, that is the goal. I want to run 2 100-mile races before we have our next kid. This is what I'm doing right now. I'm doing pelvic floor physical therapy. I'm working with a trainer in the gym, learning how to lift weights, which I'm super excited about. I'm working with a running coach. I'm dialing in my nutrition. I've tried counting my macros and I hated it and I stopped. I tried low carb, hated it, I stopped. The longest thing that I've ever tried is a plant-based diet, which I actually did for a couple years. That did not work for me. And that's a whole nother rant and whole nother podcast. But I have a plan with nutrition that I'm going to stick to. And I'm just really ready to dial things in. And anyways, we're going to town. We're going to town, and those are my goals.
Well, I'm glad you finally became a Goggins disciple.
Yeah.
He really does have some good stuff, and he just knows how to phrase it in a way that makes you realize, like, whoa, like I can do so much better. I can
It's
be
about the
so
way
much
he
more.
says it. It's the passion behind it. There's
Yeah.
just something. And the thing is, how can you not listen to him? I mean, look at how successful he is. Look at where he's at, you know.
Yeah.
I think it's really easy to call him crazy, but look at where he's at. So obviously he's figured something out, you know.
Yeah. And you know, it takes someone who's not full of pride, though, to listen to that and realize, like, whoa, I can be better.
If you listen to David Goggins, you have to be ready to listen to David Goggins.
Yeah.
You got to be ready for it. Like, it's, that podcast was really hard to hear. Like, I've almost been mourning like the past couple weeks after listening to that podcast. Like, wow, like, I'm not as good as I thought I was, you know? But I also feel motivated. Like, I can do so much more.
Yep.
And that's
Exactly.
exciting.
Exactly.
You know?
And that's where it's good. Like,
yeah.
it's good to see your weaknesses.
Yeah.
It's good to acknowledge them.
Because if you don't, you're not going to improve.
Yeah.
That's the first step in improvement, is recognizing those weaknesses in yourself. And you got to be honest with yourself.
Yeah, exactly. You got to be honest, and
that's
so
hard. It's really hard.
It is hard.
Yeah.
It is hard. So, well, I'm proud of you for doing that and being honest, and I'm excited to see where you go, Mel, now that you've kind of had this mindset shift. I think it's just for the best, and that you're just going to kick butt if you can keep this kind of mindset going forward.
I hope so. But so now it's time to just prove it to you all.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm super excited to see you progress, get back into running, especially after having an emergency C-section. Like, you've had a lot of setbacks recently,
It's been
and
rough, yeah.
you've now got to basically get your body first in order, and then get all that running strength back. And it will be fun to see how it goes. And
Yeah.
I am pumped for next year. Scout and Wasatch, that's going to be a blast.
Dude, and we've volunteered at Wasatch a few times, so
yeah,
that has
I
to
think you'll get in.
guarantee
Yeah,
a
that
spot,
means you
right?
get a couple extra ticket entries because of your volunteering.
Yeah. So I think chances are high, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll put it in the hands of God, right?
Yeah. So for
Matt,
myself,
take it away.
having a kid just throws everything in a whirlwind. And I honestly haven't really known what to do running wise ever since having our kid. I wanted to actually do Leadville or put in for Leadville, but then I just, after talks with you and looking at it, like a trip out to Leadville, Colorado right now with a kid that's under 1 year old, and just our overall situation probably wasn't the best idea to do it this year.
And we just have so many other things going on this year. We just, decided it wasn't the right time.
Yep. I'd kind of given up hopes for 100 this year. And because I just didn't know what to do with the moving parts that we're dealing with. And so I didn't really sign up for any hundreds, and most of the mountain hundreds around here have now filled up. And now I'm feeling a twinge of regret that I didn't try to do one of the local mountain 100s. But oh well, didn't happen. I have 50Ks that I've signed up for, the Tooele Trail Racing. We've done quite a few of their races before, and I want to do a good 4 or 5 of them this year.
You also are going to do the turkey trot again.
And I'm going to do the turkey trot.
Laps.
Yep. And I want to get all 10 laps. And so that would be 40 miles and like 13,000 feet of vert if I were to get all 10 laps. And I am lukewarm at looking at 100-mile races right now, trying to see if there's one local that's still open, that's not just a completely flat race, because I hate flat races. So I've been looking. There's a couple races still open that have hundreds, but I don't want to sign up for 100 just to do 100. So I've been lukewarm looking at local hundreds. I've also been considering just running my own self-supported 100 this year, maybe hitting up the old OG Trail to 100 course. I'm not sure yet. So I'm still evaluating, and I'm looking pretty heavily right now. So we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll have a good update for you all next month on
if
I sign up.
You'll know.
Yeah. So, but I definitely want to improve my speed still. So that's why I'm doing these 50Ks, is because I want to race these. I've never really raced 50Ks because I've always used them as training runs for the 100-mile distance. So I think it's going to be fun to step into a 50K and actually decide I'm going to go all out.
And maybe you don't do 100 this year, and that's your focus. You take a year of just working on speed.
But when you say don't do 100 this year, it just doesn't feel right. It makes me like my gut just like ties itself in a knot when you say that. It's like, don't say that. Like you literally just saying that to me just like kind of ticked me off. I'm like,
why? No, I'm just saying.
I'm about the 100-mile distance. Like, this podcast is the 100-mile distance. Like, that is the distance that's always called to me.
What I was going to say is, what if you took this year to work on speed, and imagine what that's going to do to your 100 next year?
I know, but in the moment, I don't want to give up my hundreds.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, I'm a little up in the air because I just with becoming a father and dealing with work.
If you're on YouTube, you can see Travis in the bottom.
I'm holding him right now. Cute little kid. If you want to see a cute kid, you got to tune in on our YouTube channel. Anyways, so we'll see what happens. I think I'll have I'll have a lot more direction next month with our update. So I am in the midst of working it out. So now for the last part of our podcast, part 3 of this podcast, we wanted to, on the set of goals, we wanted to talk about getting back into running and our experience with it / what we've been learning and tips that we've gained with it.
And this applies to anyone
yeah.
who's been out of running because
Yep.
of injury, pregnancy, you took a break,
Yep.
whatever
it might be, and you want to get back into it, because we took a break when we had our kid, and honestly I felt like I needed that break. I've been really struggling to be consistent since having our kid, and so I thought that I could just run off of caffeine and that 4 hours of sleep a night, you know what, suck it up, do it. This is where maybe the David Goggins mentality gets a little extreme, where you don't recognize the biological limits of the body sometimes, that you need sleep to recover, to function the next day. So I kept, just thinking, I can do this. I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. after going to sleep at 1 a.m. So getting little under 4 hours of sleep, because that's me getting into bed around 1. I never fall asleep immediately. And then I just kept trying to do it, and I do it a couple
working.
Yeah, I do it a couple days, and then it was like, nope,
it wasn't sustainable.
The rest of the week I'm gone. And then I do it a couple days, I'm like, no, I'm recommitting, I can do it. And then I do it, and then I wasn't even hearing my alarm some days, like literally.
We were both just sleeping right through.
Yeah.
And we're both really light sleepers.
So it was crazy. And finally, you saw me struggling with it, and you were like, we've got to figure something else out, because this is not working. And so we figured out that I can go, this has been working better. Obviously, we're still figuring it out, as Travis is just coming up on 4 months now. But you now are awesome, and you take Travis a little longer for most of the night on the nights I work.
Because I figured I can take a couple naps during the day, and you can't take a nap while you're at work.
Yeah.
Plus, Jacob drives for work, and I don't want you driving tired.
And I work 10-hour days, and so I can't really come home and work out, because I get home, eat dinner.
We get a couple hours together as a family.
Yeah, an hour or two as a family, and then it's time for bed. So if I go and work out, I never see my family if I didn't get my workout in the morning. So you now take him on the nights that I work, and then that way I can get at least 6 hours of sleep those nights.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can get up at 5 a.m., go get my workout in. And then when I come home, if you were not able to get your workout in with Travis,
then that's when I'll get my
you'll
workout
work it in.
Yeah, but I've been trying to get my workout in during the day, so we can hang out as a family in the evening. And you're awesome, and we've realized that me taking the baby for most of the night, every single night, that was starting to catch up to me.
Yep.
So now Jacob takes the baby most of the night on the weekends. So I take him during the week, he takes him on the weekends, and that's worked out great for us. And then Sundays, we all just sleep all day.
Yeah. But, I was rewinding a little bit. I was really beating myself up for not working when I was saying, okay, I want to get back into running. I got goals, I want to get faster. I want to become a better 100-mile runner. I want to keep improving. And so I just thought, I'm just going to, click a switch on and do it. And it didn't happen that way. So I don't think
you can't willpower yourself through a lack of sleep for your entire life.
Yes.
You can to an extent.
At least I can't, or maybe I haven't learned the trick yet. But I wasn't being realistic. And that's my first tip for getting back into running, is you need to be realistic. It's okay to dream big.
I mean, it's great to dream big.
Yeah,
Have your big goals.
You want to. This is about 100 miles. That's a huge goal.
Huge. But just realize it's not going to happen overnight.
Yep, exactly. And what has ended up happening the past month is, in the beginning of January, I thought in the beginning of January, I'm like, new year, new me, right? And
Everyone does it, right?
yeah, but I ended up, I went from working out once a week ish after we had Travis to in January. I was working out the first couple weeks was 2 to 3 times. And I was still beating myself up, even though that was more than I was working out a couple weeks ago. But I'm like, well, I'm not getting 6 days in a week. Like, what
Plus,
am
we
I
still had
doing?
a newborn, you know?
Yeah, but I'm beating myself up. But then I noticed kind of I started to improve every week. I'd get one more workout in. I'd get my full run in, instead of just half the miles that I thought I was going to get in. And so things slowly started to improve 4 days a week, 5 days a week, to where this week I've worked out every single day. But it took me about a month to get there, a little over a month to get
Which
there.
really isn't a long time.
Yeah.
4 weeks is not a long time.
And honestly, it's probably smart to do that anyways, because going from nothing to everything will hurt you as well.
Right. You don't want to go from working out one day a
Yeah.
week to now 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So being realistic, start slow.
Be patient with yourself.
Be patient, but make sure you're improving, but don't expect perfection right off the bat.
Oh, yeah. Especially if you're in a new season of life and you're trying to navigate other things outside of just your workout plan,
Yep, exactly.
Gotta give yourself grace.
Learning, yeah, exactly. So that's tip number 1.
Be realistic. Tip number 2, this is my tip, is get a coach. Now, before I keep going, you do not have to have a coach to finish a 100-mile race. You don't have to have a coach to be a runner. You don't have to have a coach to get into shape. I just think it can be really helpful. It kind of depends on your style too, what you prefer. Jacob and I realized that like I have always had a coach or some kind of mentor, and that the accountability is super helpful. I also love to learn from other people. Jacob hasn't used as many coaches as I have, and he's done great. I guess I've kind of coached you.
Yeah, I mean, I did Ute without a coach. You kind of gave me some tips here and there, but I pretty much made my own plan and did my own thing on Ute.
Right. So
the Ute 100.
So this isn't necessary, but I think it can really, really, really help. Especially, this is coming from a place of, I was pregnant. I couldn't run through my pregnancy. Then I had a C-section. And I also, I just really wanted to I really want to get back into it in a safe, healthy, long lasting way. So, that's why I'm doing, physical therapy, and I'm working with a trainer and a coach to make sure that I'm balancing things right. And I don't want to get injured. I don't want to get set back anymore. And also just like the accountability and honestly, here's been a really big thing. Being a mom and running a business, doing this podcast, lots of other responsibilities in our lives. I just don't have time to sit down and make a plan for myself and read all the books and do all the research, So it's really nice to have a coach who can just make the plan for you. And when you have a question, instead of diving through your books or scrounging through the internet to find your answer, you can just ask your coach and get their opinion, So it's not necessary, but a coach really makes the process easier, and it can expedite the process.
It helps take a lot of those, I guess, decisions away to where it helps
less
take the
overwhelming,
feeling away. Like today, I knew exactly what I was supposed to do for my workout.
And it's just so nice. Yeah. And if you can't get a coach, I know I don't want to get people mad
here. Me and you are like different on this one, because I'm all about like understanding your guys's like people. This is a tight time for money.
But I guarantee that everybody can get rid of something, get rid of subscriptions, stop buying your junk food. Like there are things that you can get rid of so you can afford a coach.
Yeah.
If you want one, you can make it happen.
And here's just what I'll say. If you're not going to get a coach, then you got to be your own coach.
Yeah.
So that's where I then will say, which leads me into my next tip, is run with a friend.
And there's your accountability and like kind of a mentor too.
Yep. Go find the running groups. There's always local running groups around. And whatever your local run shop is, go check it out. Ask them if they have any group runs going. They probably do.
Go to Facebook. You can always find a group run
Yeah.
on Facebook.
And just start meeting people and talking with them, because you can find people that just want to give you all their knowledge. They're begging for someone to ask them about running.
You can easily find a runner friend who will just totally coach you for free.
Yes, exactly. There's a lot of them out there. And then also just running with a friend. I get wanting to run alone, and I still do that and need that, but running with a friend, just God said it in the Bible, man's not meant to be alone.
we all need connection.
Yes,
yeah.
You need connection.
And it's important. I think it's important to have connection outside of your family too.
Yeah.
You got to have your friends.
Oh, I'd go crazy if my only connection was my family.
Right.
So run with a friend, seek out someone else, make them your friend, find a friend, run with people, get to know your community. It's going to make having someone there. And if you know somebody is there waiting for you at 5 a.m. to meet you for a run,
you're more likely to get out of bed.
Yep, you're going to get up.
Yep.
It's helped me a lot. There's been some mornings where I knew I'd have to be running by 4:30. So I texted a friend and I was like, hey, I got to get 8 miles in tomorrow morning and I have to get it in before work. So that means 4:30. You down? And he is. Luckily, he loves running just as much as me.
Get you the kind of friends who will wake up at 4:30 to go running with you.
Exactly.
Those are good friends right there.
Exactly. So running with a friend, get a mentor, something like that. Somebody who can help you through your running journey, whether that's a coach or a friend.
The next tip, so we have 5 tips. The next tip is to make a goal. Don't just say, okay, I'm going to get back into shape. I'm going to start running again. Have something that excites you and have something that you can make a plan for.
Exactly. Because if you don't have anything you're working towards, it can be that motivation to get up early or to go after work. That's sometimes even harder than getting up early. Going after work when you're tired from the day, it will leave quickly if you do not have a goal that excites you, that you really want. You
Honestly,
need one that you want.
Sign up for a race. Pay the money, sign up for a race.
Or create your own race, whatever it is.
Put it on the calendar, tell people about it.
Yep.
And get going. And then that rolls into our last tip, which is make a plan. Don't just get up and try to work out every single day. You don't want to think about what you're going to have to do every single day. Have a plan, whether you have a coach who makes a plan for you,
monthly,
you get it from a friend, you get it off Google. Just have you make it yourself, have a plan so you know what you're going to do every day.
Know what you're doing before that day comes.
Exactly.
So that decision is taken away. And it's one less decision you have to make in order to get that workout in.
Exactly.
So
just to recap, the tips are: be realistic, get a coach, run with a buddy, make a goal, make a plan.
It will come back quicker than you realize.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyways, well, you guys, thank you so much for tuning back in to Trail to 100.
Yes.
And we're so excited for season 5. Like we said at the beginning, we have some awesome guests.
We have some great first time.
So awesome.
Yeah. First time 100-mile runners that we have interviewed already. We have some coaches that we've interviewed already, a nutritionist that we interviewed, and a author of a running book we already have interviewed as well.
So some awesome tips for you guys. Something new that we're doing this year too is all of our guests send us a write-up. So we send them a series of questions that they type up and answer and send back to us. And that's to help us get ready for the podcast. But we decided we want to put these write-ups on the website because there's so much golden advice in these write-ups. Yeah. And a lot of times we don't get to everything in the write-ups. So we're going to start putting them up on our website, trail100.com. So if you hear a guest, you really like what they have to say and you want to hear more from them, you can go to our website and read their write-up. Also on our website, you can find information about our coaching. You can find cool Trail to 100 swag, and we are working on a lot more super cool things that are going to go up on the website this year. So stay tuned, and you can always contact us through the website as well if you have questions.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us here on Trail to 100. And remember, if you want to run 100 miles, make it happen.